Why don't we start with a little introduction about your styling journey and the business that you have today?
Well, I started, around over 10 years ago, 11 years ago or so. I wasn't always a stylist. I have a degree in communication and, bumpy roads. At one point, I had like that pause moments where I was not happy with my life. I was not feeling fulfilled with what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of had to rethink the whole thing. And at that point was when I don't know, I think often life gets to take the wheel on its own. Yeah. And you don't think much about the choices you are doing along the way. You have this idea in your head of what the future looks like, and then you get there and it looks nothing like that. So at this point, I think it was when I realized that I really needed to do something that wasn't just a job, that wasn't just to pay the bills and, so I started to think, what do I love doing, even if no one is paying me to do? Yeah. And that's when I decided to go this way. Yeah. And at the time, I am from Portugal. So at the time, it wasn't really a profession there. There were very, very, very few like personal stylists or image consultants or whatever. So it wasn't the easiest journey, but well, I never went back. So it was a good one. It was fulfilling. I got training for styling and fashion styling and image consulting and all that. And at first, the first opportunities that I had to really work were in the fashion industry, more related to photo shoots and magazines and celebrities. But I don't know, a few years in, I realized that when I worked with, quote, real woman, was the most rewarding experience I had, because, the faces and first the hesitation, the fear of change, and then to actually see the faces when all the change occurs. Because I think there's still a lot of misconception about image, that most people still believe that image is just aesthetic and a little vain and something that you can definitely live without. You don't need to curate your wardrobe. It's like a secondary thing. It's not a main necessity. Yeah. And it's really not, because image, especially for women, but not only, but especially for women, it has such a big impact on our self-esteem. And that then has such a huge impact on anything else that we do. Our mood, how we relate with other people, our family, the way we connect with the people around us. Yeah. So it's not at all just aesthetic. It has a really deep, it's really like embedded in us. If we, either it's a good image or a bad one, it will impact our way of being.
It's so true. And nearly every single woman, particularly that I know, has their own kind of collection of body image issues or just general image issues. They all think, oh, I'd love to get help with how I dress. I don't know what to do. So image actually is important because it's something that's on our minds daily. Yet we're kind of, there's still that block sometimes between, okay, well, what do I do with it then? How do I fix this? And the answer is work with a stylist.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think mainly we still see image as something that is apart from us, like not, it's something separate, like a chore. We get there when we get there, instead of seeing it as part of ourselves, like, something that you carry every second of every day. Because you can't look in the mirror and see someone else unless you're in some kind of terror movie, which would be creepy. You always have to see the same person.
You do. So you may as well
enjoy that person, right?
Yes.
Well, like her.
So do you find, just on that, have you found in the last few years working with clients that the majority of your clients just want you to tell them what their style should be, or do they have an idea of what they want their style to be and they just can't create it for themselves?
I think there's a bit of both, but mostly they believe that I'm going to tell them what to do. And it's not that black and white. It's a journey. Like when I work with clients, sometimes they think they're ready to change and they're really not. So they have this idea of what is going to happen, and then it's a little different because, like I said, image is something that we feel. It's not just something that we put on. So
yes,
as we change, like as we go into their issues, like you said, their body issues, because before we step foot in their wardrobe, I need to understand why they came to me. What troubles them? So what kind of insecurities do they have? Because I need to understand how can I help them deal with that? Because for me, the way I work, image is all about that. It's not about like hiding or changing who you are. It's about understanding who you are and trying to take the focus out of the things that make you feel insecure and then put the focus on the things that make you feel empowered. Like easy example, if you don't like, say, your legs, okay, you don't
that's
have
where I was going. Yes,
let's focus on something else. You don't like your legs, so what do you like? Oh, I like my face or my hair or my bust. Okay, so let's put the focus there and remove it from anywhere else that makes you feel insecure. And then there's personality, and then there's your lifestyle. Like I love high heels, but I can't expect a mother of 3 children, like 3 toddlers, to walk in Louboutins 24/7. It's not realistic. It may look good on someone else, but I have to find an alternative that suits your lifestyle and your personality.
Yes, that still I mean, if we think of high heels, it makes you feel sexy and feminine. So for me, I feel most comfortable in almost an orthopedic clog. I cannot be bothered to wear high heels anymore. So much to my husband's abject horror. But, like you have to try and find, for me, what looks sexy and feminine from the feet up.
And maybe an alternative, something in between the clogs and the Louboutins. Maybe try to get to some kind of compromise there.
Exactly. So true. So it's interesting. One of the reasons I like chatting with stylists like yourself on this show is because we get to hear firsthand what type of marketing activity or marketing decisions you've made that have enabled you to build your business. And what I noticed with your Instagram feed is that it is pretty much, I would say, like 97% video. which is quite different to many other businesses where there's a combination of graphic images, quotes, posts, static images. So I thought it might be interesting for you to share with us what the reason behind that was and how that how the videos that you've been creating have helped attract clients.
So at this point, I think I probably tried everything until I haven't we all?
Yeah.
Like chasing the algorithm and, so.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I was like, no, this is not working. So I just tried to study my own content and the feedback that I was getting from every content, regardless of the feedback being immediate, like say in the form of likes and comments, or being it on the back end of that, like DMs and emails, and even later on, someone referencing back to videos that I created like months ago. And maybe they didn't comment, but then we are DMing or they email me with questions and they will reference something that I did way back when. So I was like, wait a minute, they are listening, they are watching.
Yeah.
So I just think that for what I do, people are, in general, people are very visual.
Yeah.
And although I like photography a lot, but I think for what I do, it's helpful for them to see it happen. So how, instead of just seeing a still picture of the outfit all constructed, for them to actually see me doing it. It's helpful for them to see the process. So I guess it gives them a feel of what I can do for them. And for me, I just think video is a better way of communicating my knowledge, and it just worked better regardless of the performance, the immediate performance. I realized that it worked best
for
in
you
the long term. So that's why I started to shift, because up until one point it was mainly photos as everyone else. And then I started to make that shift, and now with reels in the mix, so it's another form of video, even though it's shorter, but it's another form of video. So you have to divide your week in more formats, so to speak. And I decided that video was a better investment of my time.
So many great points you've just mentioned there. Oh my goodness. Firstly, the fact that you took the time to review the engagement, the metrics, the information that we have at our disposal already is amazing. But the fact that you not only looked at the kind of top line metrics, likes, comments, shares, the fact that you were also connecting the content to micro interactions, off the page, the DMs, the emails, and sort of anecdotal references is so smart and so clever. And it just goes to show so many of us that are thinking, how do I attract more clients, or how do I grow my business? You've got a lot of that information already there. The answers are already in the mix. You just have to look at the information. And then it sounds like you worked out for your audience, for your type of core client, they love video and you're great on video. That's not to say that your exact system can be replicated for everyone. It's a combination of, are you comfortable on video? Do you know how to create content that your clients want? Do they like to receive it? But it's just so smart to hone in on what's working and then adopt your strategy so you're not wasting your time creating stuff that nobody cares about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everyone needs to take that time to try and understand what is in fact working, regardless the numbers. Because I think likes and comments sometimes can be misleading when you use Instagram as a business platform.
Yeah.
If you're just using it for fun, everything goes. But if you are using it as a business platform, it's important to take that time to understand. Because, for example, quotes and graphics and those types of things seem to work fine for a lot of businesses. And I tried those, like quotes and even fashion quotes, my own style quotes. And I came to the conclusion that if no one sees my face, they do not connect with it. So that was just one easy
takeaway.
One easy takeaway.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for every person trying to make it a business to take that time to analyze the data.
It's true. And on that point about quotes, there are some businesses that will post a quote and honestly get 20,000 likes and shares. And the quote could be something like, hope is a dream, or a bird on a wing, like something random and pointless. Do you know what I mean? So it's interesting. It just goes to show there isn't just one secret rule that we all need to follow. It's what works for your crew, for your tribe, for your community. And so with your video content, tell me, I'd like to understand a little bit about the client journey. So if someone discovers your page on Instagram and they start having a look at the videos, what do you find is the next kind of micro step that they make? Is it that they tend to DM you, or they'll jump onto your website and download something?
More often than not, they will DM me. Although I think it's a mix of everything, but the majority will try to DM me, try to ask questions that they have already, or take something that I did or a tip that I gave, and that resonated with the struggle they have, which is always my point. And they will try to start a conversation from there. So more often than not, that's what happens. Although I do have people that jump on the website to download the freebies, or they go and check. I have an online course that I launched last year. So often I just see that they subscribed to the course, they bought the course. So it's a mix of everything. But as far as video goes, I would say that the majority will end up DMing, and then from there, they either just follow for a while, and that's fine, or they decide to take the next step and book something else, like something official to work, not just to have a quick answer, because that's really all I can give them at the moment.
On Instagram.
Answer to.
Yes. Do you, with your freebies, do you turn them into videos to promote them on your social media pages, or are they just on the website as a pop-up?
They are just on the website. Yeah. For the moment, they are just on the website.
We were talking in my coaching club group, we were talking this morning about all of us have a freebie, some sort of downloadable something that we can use in exchange for getting people's email addresses. But even when you then send that email or they receive that guide, the question then becomes, well, did they read it? You know, did they engage with it? So for so many people that already have some sort of resource at their disposal, they could potentially create videos of that to promote the resource itself on social media.
Absolutely.
See whether people engage with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great idea. I think sometimes it's lack of time that doesn't allow us to tackle all the ideas, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's absolutely a great idea for sure. It's a great idea.
And tell me, when it comes to creating the videos, the ideas that you come up with, are you planning those a month in advance, or are you getting your clients or your community to tell you what they want? What's the creation process like?
Ideally, I would create a month in advance. I'm really happy with myself when I get to do that, which isn't always.
Yeah.
So I will say I will create at least 1 week, a week and a half in advance. And then it just depends on the time that I have on my schedule. If I have a lot of bookings that week or not, I have to be flexible with myself. I think that's also important to say to business owners that they are allowed to be kind to themselves, because there's only so much a person can do.
Exactly.
So but ideally I will create a week or a week and a half in advance. And sometimes, especially if I have like trips planned or something like that, I will try to create more. As far as inspiration goes, I do get a lot of questions. So a lot of my content is to respond to those questions. If not, it's some things like struggles that I see with my clients, my actual clients. So sometimes I will be on a consult and something will come up that is new or newish. And I will think to myself, okay, so that's a good idea for content. And I will write it down. And then when I get the opportunity, I will try to create around that. But like anyone, I do sometimes have, say, creator's block. So if that happens, what I do is I will grab a piece of paper and a pen, because when it comes to being creative, I'm old-fashioned. I love all the gadgets. I'm a little bit addicted to anything Apple, I have to say. But when it comes to being creative, I like to write it with my hand. So I will grab paper and pen and I will sit inside my closet, literally on the floor, and I will look around and I will wait for something to speak to me.
That is great.
Like a garment will stand out and I will say, okay, I like you today. So what can I do with you that I haven't done before? Because I feel like that's one of the things that really works for my niche audience, is that they like to see what they can do with what they have. Like, for example, one series that I have is Style It 3 Ways, where I pick one thing and I style it in 3 different ways. And that's one of the most like popular series, so to speak, because people like to see that diversity. I think most people struggle with looking at their wardrobes creatively.
Definitely.
To give it a visual, I will say this. Many people, many clients of mine, they will walk into a store, they will look at a mannequin and they will say, oh, nice combination. Those pants really go with that shirt. Okay, I'll buy them both. And then they will wear them both forever.
Yes.
And then a month later,
we're bored of that.
A month is not that long. That piece is still pretty new, but they will walk in the closet and they will have a bunch of things and they will say, oh, gosh, I have nothing to wear. I'm always wearing the same things over and over and over. And that's the only reason why. If you have a lot of things and you feel you are wearing the same over and over, it's because you are unable to look at things creatively. No one made a rule that you had to wear that shirt with those pants. You made that rule. So
yes, you're absolutely right.
Like that.
And we like the feeling of newness, that sort of excitement of something new. And we think that the only way to achieve that feeling is to buy something new. So alternatively, when you present, one outfit or one piece of clothing 3 ways, we're getting the newness. That's 3 new outfits, which we love to consume and try out. I guess, I'm just thinking now, if you don't get into the creative headspace or you don't know where to go for inspiration, you are just still thinking in almost like one-dimensional, that top and those pants go together and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I had 2 really one is kind of fun and the other one, it's kind of mixed emotions. One thing that happened to me with a video I made is I paired a bomber jacket with a skirt. And I wore the bomber jacket all zipped up like a sweater, tucked into a shirt. And like, I don't know, 80%, 90% of the people who commented said, "Oh, that's such a cute dress." And I was like, this is not a dress. I just showed you this bomber jacket like X amount of weeks ago in a different way. See? Oh, wow. I would have swore it was a dress. See? Changing what you have completely. The other cool thing that happened, and it's kind of mixed feelings, kind of made my heart go a little warm and at the same time a little bit sad. You were asking before about last year, and around the end of last year or so, I made a video. I can't remember which one was, but it was one of those, like wear it multiple ways. Yeah. And I got a DM, and she said something like, "I really love these videos that you put on. It helps me think of my wardrobe differently. And right now I lost my job and I can't really shop for anything. So this makes me feel a little better that I get to like shop within my own closet."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm so sorry for you that you lost your job. But at the same time, like, thank you so much for sharing that, because
yes,
that's exactly my intention with putting this out, is just not only for the need of it, but it's kind of not sustainable. The shopping habits that we have developed over the last few decades are not sustainable in the long run. So as humans, we have to find other ways to feel rewarded that don't, that aren't related to swiping a card.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can sustain.
Looking at 2020 in Melbourne, we had quite a long period of lockdown, so you can't leave your home. And that was almost like a physical catalyst to look inward, like metaphorically, spiritually, and it literally, like in my closet, I can't buy anything else. I mean, of course you can buy online, but it was, okay, well, what can I do with what I have? And I think that is a really powerful mindset shift, which will fuel the popularity of stylists, because as consumers, as potential clients, people are now starting to understand that a personal stylist isn't just pushing clothing, pushing new purchases. They're helping you shop more consciously and considered, and work with what you already have. And that really should be, everyone should learn how to do that. We can't just continue to fill our homes with stuff and then fill it in the land when we throw it away.
I have a little bit of a pet peeve with the Instagram accounts that are all about shopping, like swipe up, swipe up, swipe up, shop this, shop this, shop this, shop this. They are not teaching anything. They are not entertaining. They are just like incentivizing people to shop more, 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 more.
Yeah.
And in my professional experience, the more my clients have, when I get to them, the worse they feel. It's like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, the more stuff they have in their closet, the worse they know, the worse they feel, and the less they know what to do with it. So,
wow,
think about that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And as you said earlier on, your goal of educating people, working out who they are, building that confidence, that piece has to be done exclusive of just shopping and kind of, packaging something up for them. That's sort of the internal work. And I know that every image professional that I've spoken to feels exactly the same. There's the primary focus is almost more of a nurturing, counseling, guidance first, then the creative, artistic component second. So when you when you lead with buy this, buy this, buy this, you're missing out on the fundamental exchange that occurs between a client and a stylist.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're feeding the problem. When you focus on shopping first, you are just feeding the issues that the client already has.
Such a good point.
Having more stuff will not help. And there's a scientific explanation or a chemical explanation for this, if you will. Our brain makes decisions every second of every day. That's why, and it gets tired. But it's also a very efficient machine.
Mm.
So the reason why a lot of the times we feel like we are in autopilot is because our brain makes snap decisions to, when you have a repeated behavior, the brain assimilates that so that you don't have, it's one less decision for you to make.
Yes, it becomes predictive, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Which means that the more choices you have, the hardest it is for you to make a decision. So when you have less options, you decide better and faster. When you have a lot of options, it's like you're overloading your brain.
Yes.
Because you're already making decisions every second of every day. So it's just another overload. That's why people have lots of things and they still feel like they have nothing to wear, because they can't make those decisions. They just, like I told you, they just decided to wear that thing with that thing, and they will stick to that because it's easier.
Yes. Yes. It makes so much sense. One last question. I want to ask you about your videos. The videos are educating people, they're inspiring people, they're teaching people. So from a marketing perspective, that's building awareness, that's helping them in what we call the consideration phase of the buyer journey, and they're starting to understand what it would be like to work with you and whether they need to. Do you then feel with every video like you need to add some sort of call to action to drive them to book in, or do you just leave the video as a piece of content for them to consume and that's it?
No, I think it's super important to add a call to action. I am the worst salesperson in the world, probably. So I will say that my call to action isn't always to conduct them to book or to purchase something from me, but it's either that or to build community.
Great.
So I will always have a call to action. Sometimes is, would you like to know more about this? Let's talk over DM, or email me if you have further questions. You feel like you need an update, email me. Or last week or 2 weeks ago, I can't remember anymore. Time is really fuzzy these days, like a blur. But it was Wear Red Day or something. There's a lot of national
holidays,
something days.
Yeah.
So I took that to talk about the meaning of color, because aside from what looks good and everything else, there's a non-verbal communication that we put out all the time.
Yeah.
So, and color is a part of that. So I took the opportunity to talk about color, etc. And in my online course, I also talk about colors and the meaning of colors and how you can use them to help pass the message that you need to pass at a certain occasion. And then my call to action was then, would you like to know more about this? Do you find it interesting? Blah, blah, blah. Check out my online course, etc. When I do not do that, I always ask a question or ask for a reaction. So in accordance to what I showed or what I wrote, I will always ask a question with that topic in mind, or ask for a reaction. When it's something too controversial, I sometimes will say, if you don't want to share, that's fine. Just leave an emoji, leave a heart, leave a whatever. Or I will ask a direct question.
And it's interesting
what they think about that or whatever.
And do you find that most people do respond to that call to action, or are they because it's funny. I mean, sometimes they do, other times, as we know, they don't at all, but then they'll DM you a month later and say, here are my thoughts on that thing. That was great. So
yeah.
we're adding a call to action. We don't know if it works, but we'll throw it in anyway and see if anyone responds.
Absolutely.
It's true.
Better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. Exactly. You're trying to, I think if you genuinely have put your heart and soul into that piece of content and it is something that people are interested in and they feel like conversing, they will. But it is interesting to note whether you do or you don't, whether it's a share this or click here to learn more or sign up to my course or anything. I know myself, I don't really comment a lot on anything. With the limited amount of free time I have, I'm just looking, I'm learning, but probably the only time I engage is if I see something super hilarious and then I tag a couple of my girlfriends that have the same sense of humor. That's pretty much it. But that's not to say, and I've said this before on other episodes, during the lockdown period, I bought so many random products. So I bought into the buyer cycle of other brands. I just wasn't writing, great stuff, here's my opinion. It was more that I was just consuming the content. It was giving me what I needed at the time, and I moved towards that purchase organically. Yeah. So it's interesting to note.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that immediate reward feeling that you get when you purchase something, whatever it is, a product, a service, whatever. It's that. And during lockdown, I think we all saw a lot of that because we were kind of frustrated that we were so limited in what we could do and seeing the same things all day, every day, and the same people as much as we love them. So I think it's normal human behavior. And I forgot your question. I'm sorry. Me too. I'll ask another one. Just one last one. Do you find that the bulk of the communication you have with your audience is through direct messages now, as opposed to comments and replies on individual posts? Yes, I think so. At least the deeper conversations tend to happen over DM. Oh, I remember your last question.
Good.
Do they respond to the call to action?
Oh, yes.
And yes and no. I think it really depends on the topic that I'm talking about. If it's something that really resonates, like they have this urge to answer.
Yes, true.
And but if not, or if it's something like too kind of private in a way, if I'm talking about insecurities or something like that, people tend to be shy about exposing those to the world. Yeah. So sometimes on those topics, they DM more than they comment. But I think overall, I think it's still positive to add that call to action. At least it shows that you're listening. If anything else, even if they don't always reply to you, they know that you are interested in them replying.
Yes.
Makes sense?
Yes. That's a really great point to end on. The importance is that your community know that you care, you value their input, and you're listening.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not just putting stuff out there for your own sake, just, here's this. I think you need to know this, so take it.
Yeah.
So asking for feedback.
It's true. And so it's the difference between committing to having a conversation, a dialogue, or is it just a show reel or, like a presentation? That's a really, really great point. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights.